ISRO's workhorse PSLV rocket has suffered unprecedented back-to-back failures. PSLV C-61 in May 2025 and PSLV C-62 on January 12, 2026. Both involved third-stage anomalies that resulted in the loss of critical national security satellites. In fact, 16 satellites in the latest mission. For a rocket with a stellar 92% success rate, this is alarming. No previous PSLV stage malfunction has ever repeated. In this episode, we explore what exactly went wrong in both missions, whether ISRO is stretched too thin juggling ambitious projects, implications for vendor quality control and commercial reliability, what corrective measures might be implemented, and whether the agency's departure from its transparency culture by withholding failure analysis reports signals deeper systemic issues beyond technical glitches. Listen on, it's Tuesday, the 20th of January. I'm Anirban Chowdhury. This is the Morning Brief. To understand the problem and its implications better, I spoke to my colleague Chethan Kumar, space tracker at the Times of India. Hi Chethan, very warm welcome to the Morning Brief.
Hi Anirban, thank you for having me.
Okay, in really plain terms, so that we can all understand, what exactly failed in the two recent PSLV missions?
So far as the Jan 12th PSLV failure of the mission PSLV C-62 goes, there was an issue in the PS3, that is a solid stage, third stage that the rocket uses. PSLV has 4 stages. The first and the third stages are solid. The second and the fourth stages are liquid. So this was the solid stage PS3. Now it became a concern because the May 18, 2025 failure of the previous PSLV mission, the PSLV C-61, also had an issue with the third stage. However, in that case, the FAC had pointed to the official report or the executive summary has not been made public by the Department of Space or ISRO as of today. But the indications were that there was a faulty nozzle in PS3, which was rectified for this mission. The third stage ignition did happen, and then there was also an announcement that the performance was normal, which means the nozzle which had caused it trouble in the previous mission had operated. That is what insiders are telling us. And this seems to be a completely new issue in the same stage, although that has caused the failure. So we are yet to really get a concrete evidence of what may have gone wrong. All we know as of today is that the PSLV PS3, that's the third stage, had a glitch and that caused the mission to fail.
Okay, now what is this indicative of? Do engineers at ISRO see a deeper systemic issue? And this is, let's not forget, this is, I think, ISRO's most trusted workhorse.
See, like I've said before during our chats, or I've written elsewhere also, rockets find a way to fail. Rocket launching is a complex process, and sometimes no matter how well prepared you are, there is something that can cause a rocket to fail. But why is this appearing to be a larger concern for ISRO is, like you pointed out, the PSLV has been ISRO's trusted workhorse, the most reliable rocket in the series of rocket families that we've seen in India, the SLV-3, ASLV, the PSLV, and the cryogenic GSLV and LVM-3 before the solid SSLV small rocket came about. PSLVs had the maximum number of flights starting September 20, 1993 up to Jan 12, 2026. It has been involved in 64 launch missions, of which 4 have failed fully, and there was a partial failure in 1997 again, which puts PSLV's success rate at 92 point something %. So what happens with PSLV is that people within ISRO also find it very difficult to digest. You don't expect a PSLV to fail. That has brought down the morale within the organization. That it's palpable now. You can sense it. And not to say that they hadn't prepared enough for this particular mission. They put the PSLV through an unusually high level of testing. It was more rigorous than normal PSLV, review process for the last many years. PSLV goes through around 3 mission readiness reviews on average, usually. But for the PSLV C62, ISRO's carried out, as far as I've understood, around 7 MRRs. MRR is the final stage of reviews that happen. So there would have been hundreds of tests before that. And the PS3 nozzle was tested exhaustively. So they prepared as hard as they could. And yet the PSLV failed, which has never happened in its long history. So that has caused a bit of concern. So the review systems, the SOPs, all of which will be, I think, if not a complete overhaul, which is highly unlikely because these are set processes that have worked for decades. But there will be a revisit to see if you can include, a little more redundancy in any of the processes. What do you want to do? But again, all of this will depend on what has caused the failure. So as of now, the analysis is going on. And I think we'll hopefully this time get a more clear picture once that is complete. And like most people who follow ISRO, it would be advisable, I suppose, for the Department of Space to release the FAC report this time.
Yeah. Do you think vendor quality will be called into question given ISRO's increasing reliance on private suppliers?
But to clarify one thing, there's no increasing reliance on private supply. That's not a new thing.
Mm-hmm.
See, what happened in 2020 was that the government decided that private sector companies can participate in end-to-end space missions in the sense that they can build rockets, send satellites, and also do services, which was solely done by the Department of Space until then. But Department of Space always had reliance on private vendors because it's not that ISRO makes every single part or every composite or every stage is completely built within ISRO. They've always been given out for contracts. In fact, even before 2020, ISRO had tie-ups with about hundreds of small companies across, and there were 500 companies which had got, I think, TOTs from Kashmir to Kanyakumari. So again, if there is a problem with a particular part, if it didn't perform as it was supposed to, naturally those vendors might get put on review. Then there will be naturally some kind of action in that direction. They'll probably increase the review or put in place more tests because there are different guidelines that you follow for legacy products, the kind of random testing you might do. Will ISRO now, let's say, let's test everything we buy.
Do you think ISRO is stretched too much because it's simultaneously handling so much? I mean, Gaganyaan, commercial launches, and ambitious science missions.
See, the answer is both yes and no, depending on where one looks from. It is true that ISRO has taken on several high-ticket missions, especially the kind of Gaganyaan, and also it is working on another Mars mission, follow-up missions to the moon, trying to build a space station, and also doing preparatory work to go to Venus. The list goes on the science front, which is welcome as long as you have all the resources. I mean, both financial and human and infrastructural resources to have multiple big ticket projects to progress parallelly. In ISRO's case, I think it has never dealt with these many high ticket projects in one go simultaneously over the decades. So there will be that issue of the manpower, especially the manpower being stretched, because some of the people who are in the PSLV team will be working on Gaganyaan, and some others will be working on another parallel project. So you're right that there is that added stress that will be there, and people are working more than they have. But these are all experienced organizations, and I think even as scientists, they would have sort of divided their time. There are things that happen on, mission mode, things that happen on project mode, and things that happen in parallel. So the pace at which different kinds of work carry on in ISRO are also different. So once something gets on mission mode, then all resources are pulled into that. So that time you have nothing else to worry but to focus on this particular mission.
Got it.
But I don't suspect that multiple projects have caused an increased number of errors. I would hold on before, people start saying that, is that what is causing all the failures?
Okay, so ISRO obviously is worried about reputational damage. Other than what you've already mentioned, more tests, more stringent tests, etc., what is it going to do, you think, in terms of corrective action?
So once it becomes clear as to what caused the failure, there will be specific corrective measures that will be put in place to ensure that those things are corrected. So if it's a hardware issue, then like you were asking earlier in one of your questions, they'll go back and look at, where it's being procured from. Is random testing enough? Or do you need any improvements on that? Do you need to change the hardware? Do you need to upgrade it? If it's a software issue, a similar thing would happen. Or if it's something else like a mechanical thing that's gone wrong. So once that becomes clear, there will be 100%, there will be measures to rectify whatever has caused the loss. And so far as the first part of the question goes about reputational damage, I see the space business works on reputation, and commercial business, especially foreign companies, they add additional weightage for to reliance. They don't mind paying the additional dollar as far as they know the rocket is reliable. And to that effect, PSLV has always served India well. But a back-to-back PSLV failure is going to dent that image of reliability a bit. But another added concern would be that, PSLV, the government wanted it to go to private hands. A contract has been signed with HAL and L&T. They are supposed to make 5. And the first of their rocket is gearing up for launch in the first quarter of this year. We'll have to see how that goes. Will that get delayed? Because now that you've observed this, will you go back and check and double check everything there? And if PSLV that is being made by ISRO has failed twice, would customers have confidence in, new people making PSLVs? So these are all real world problems. But I think PSLV has survived long enough and had a great record. So I think customers will come around eventually. Also because of what kind of demand and supply exists in the global launch market, which India has to worry about in the longer sense, because you need small satellite launchers. You also need PSLV to bounce back quickly. So I think we have quite a few interesting months ahead of us this year.
Chethan, thank you so much. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me. Looking forward to this episode.
The consecutive PSLV failures represent a critical juncture for ISRO. With the first private sector built PSLV scheduled for launch this quarter and commercial customers watching closely, ISRO's response will be crucial. The real test is in restoring confidence through transparency, rigorous analysis, and corrective measures. As always, space exploration demands that we learn from setbacks. Will ISRO's response match the gravity of the moment? That's it for today. You were listening to this episode on The Morning Brief. It was produced by me and Vinay Joshi, sound designed by Amrit Reggie. A new episode of The Morning Brief drops every Tuesday, Thursday and Friday, wherever you get your podcasts. Also listen to Corner Office Conversation on Mondays, ET in the Valley on Wednesdays. Stay tuned.